Yeah, no. I understand that. I understand that. You're done with your work. I could use little assistance. I've got 4 Jira stories that these tasks need to be done by the end of the day. We've got branch conflicts left and right. I've got a demo tomorrow. The client wants to see some real data. They're tired of seeing the mock data. I don't know how we're going to actually pull that one off, right? My velvet skin is feeling real agitated right now. Real agitated, right? Oh, hello. Hi. We'll talk later. A little help. So, what do we got here today? Today we have, HTTP request. Yes. So, let's deal with some HTTP requests. I definitely need to get this video done and get back to my work because we got a major demo tomorrow. All right, so let's get it started. If you can open up your Visual Studio Code, I already have mine actually running. It's a bare bones application, so it's you can just pretty much run npx, npx space create React app in any directory or with the actual name. But let's get it started. Camera. All right, so what are we going to do? We are going to try to bring in some actual data from another source, So I guess what we can do is we can start with just getting, let's take a look and see what we don't need. We don't need this, but we don't need to actually look at it either. So let's go to the app. And let's get rid of everything here. We don't need that. And we also do not need the actual logo at all. And what we can do here is extra blank, nice. And so what we're going to try to achieve is to actually showcase some data. Normally what you would do is, let's do a little test on what the data would actually look like. We would import, let's say useState, and that's going to be from React, and which, if you're not familiar with useState, it was covered in the last video, I believe. So check the playlist for that. And let's bring this up, get a time check at 4:26. And from there, what we can do is, let's actually use this data, or actually use useState, just to get some initial data here. So we're going to go useState, and we'll have some variables too. So let's call it users. So const users, and then we'll have the function set users. And that will be equal to useState. And what we're going to do here is we're going to bring in an array. An array of what? Let's bring in an array of objects. Let's do that. So we can actually, we can do that here. So let's go const data equals an array of objects, just so we can actually see something. So what we're going to do is, let's say we'll give it an ID of 1. We'll give it a name. We'll go full. And let's see what else we got here. We'll do email, full@gmail.com. And I think we can do phone number too. Let's do phone number. We'll do phone. And we'll go, should we use digits? We'll use a string. We'll go 555, 555, 5555. All right, so I think that, let's put in an actual comma here. And let's just copy that so we can have the actual data itself, or at least so we can have more data. We'll change the numbers here and the actual value. Let's go with Aaron, a wonderful name. Let's go with Aaron here, and 555, 55557. Perfect. All right, and then what we're going to do is in our useState variable, we're going to actually apply that. So that data will be the initial data or the initial state for the users variable. Okay. All right, then what we can do from there, let's create a users component. That way we can kind of see, well, we don't need this, we don't need this. And we'll create a users component here. user.js, and we'll use our shortcut. It was RAFCE, FCE. So that'll give us a bare bones default component. And what are we going to do with this? This is where we're going to actually send the data to. So I think what we're going to do is let's just have, well, the div is fine. And inside that div, we will, let's give it a h3. It's not going to be the prettiest thing. It'd be far from the prettiest thing. So we'll give it an h3 because we're going to showcase the actual name. And after that, what are we showcasing? So we're going to do name. We'll do another h3, which will be the actual email. And below that, we will give it an h3 of, we're going to look for the actual phone. We'll showcase the phone. Okay, and we don't have anything below that either. So let's split this to the right so we can kind of make sense of it all. All right, so we have this data and we want to showcase it into the actual child. Do a time check here for 30. Good, good, good. And let's take this data and let's go, let's showcase it like this. We'll take the data and what we'll do is we will map over it. And then from there, map will take in any variable that we can use to represent our actual data. And we'll just bring this down. Can we actually see this? We can get rid of this so we just have a little bit more room to work with. All right. And what are we going to use in here? We're going to use pass that data to the actual child component. Or actually not the child component in this case is user. So let's actually do that. Saying we are exporting that. Okay, and it says user is not defined in the app. Oh, that's probably because we did not bring it in at the top. So let's see if I can get rid of the R and see if it auto completes. Okay, so there it is on the first line. So we'll actually utilize that. So it is here. Perfect. Okay, and now we have name, email, phone, name, email, phone. And let's open up the inspect tool as well. Okay, what do we need? We do have some errors in there, but we can address those one by one. So let's just kind of recap what we have so far. We have the useState value of the initial data or the initial state of data, which is mainly our dummy data that we have here. We have the actual user's variable, which is set to that actual data. And we are mapping over that actual data, which is going to give us all of the actual users or all of the objects within the actual array. And what we're going to pass to the user's variable here, or to the user component, is, well, the actual user data. Okay, we can definitely use that. So we're passing that in as an actual prop. And we're going to use the key, because that's what the error is over here. If we take a look, it looks like each child should have an actual key. And since we have an ID, we'll just use that. So we'll say the key is going to be the user.id. So this way, when you're dealing with the virtual DOM, React needs to know exactly what is the ID or the unique ID for that particular data. So with React, React reacts to the actual data itself. All right, so now that we have that, let's just do a little refresh. All right, no errors there, but let's showcase the actual data in the child component. Okay, so here's our child component, which is being passed the key and user data as props. And what we can do here is start showcasing it, but we do need to bring it in as props. And then from there, what we can do is we already know the values that we want to showcase, which is going to be the name, the email, and the phone. So I'll just make that into some paragraph tags here, and we'll just access it one by one. So first, let's get the actual name. So that's going to be props dot props dot name. So props dot user. I'm sorry, props dot user, and user is an object, so we want user dot name. Okay, so now we get, there we go. That's a beautiful name of full. And now let's copy that and get the rest of our data. Okay, that's perfect. All right, and we want the user email. Okay, so we have the email showing up, and that's good. Let's just bring this down a little bit. And we also want the phone. So let's see if we can, let's change these so we can see some major changes here. And let's get the phone. All right, good. And just so we can kind of see this a little bit better, let's add a class name here. So let's say class name, and it's going to equal user container, which we have not actually created as of yet. So let's do that. We'll just go user, let's call it user CSS. Okay, and then we'll split that down to the bottom just so we can see what that looks like. And we do need to actually import that. Well, import what? Import user CSS. So let's do that so we can utilize the actual styles. So import, and we'll go user.css. Okay, and we don't have anything in there, but we did say we want to use a class name of user container. So let's try that. So we got user container, and what are we going to do for that? So for our user container, which is this here, we are going to, let's just give it a border so we can take a look at some things a little bit easier. So we'll go border 1px, and we'll go solid and black. All right, so we see the borders. Perfect. We're going to give it a width of, let's just go with 400 pixels. And we're also going to give it a margin of, we'll go 10 on the top and bottom of 10 pixels. And we'll go auto on the left and the right. All right, so that's starting to look a little bit better. Not bad, not bad. And let's do a background color too, just to kind of prettify it a little bit more. Background color of, well, let's see if I'm thinking what you're thinking. Are you thinking aqua, or are you thinking blue or blue violet? Okay. All right, lifetime decisions here. We'll go with beige. Can we go with beige? Let's see what that looks like. Okay, all right, cool. We'll go with beige. Beige it is. All right, and then from there, what we're going to do is, if we can take a look, we have the name full, we have the email, we have the phone. All right, perfect. But this is all static data. It's all static. We want to be able to bring this in using some type of HTTP request. Okay. So in order to do that, what we're going to need to do, is to pull in that data initially from another site, because currently we have this static data, which we don't want the static data. We want to be able to retrieve that data from another place, whether it be a server, whether it's from Google Firebase, AWS, MySQL. We don't know where the data is going to come from. Usually 9 times out of 10, the backend fellow associates will provide that particular data, unless of course you're full stack and you're doing that as well. But but actually one of the other things that I did notice is that initially I think I did make a change here, and we were actually iterating over the actual data itself, and what we want is to make sure we're actually iterating not over the dummy data here, but the actual users. That's right. We want to be able to actually map over that. So that way, the users is the actual, has the initial state of the data, in which that data is an array of objects. This way, when we do end up making a change on calling like set users, then the actual components will re-render. So we want to make sure that we are rendering over, or at least mapping over the actual users data. All right, so that is fine. And then now what we can do from there is to just make sure that we create some type of response. But the response that we get is going to be a call from this site over here. So let's actually bring in, what is it? It is JSON placeholder and users. Okay, and let's just double check this here. I actually already have parameters in there that limits the amount of data that's actually coming back. But essentially what it would look like before that is this is the site right here. And this is a nice little site for you to actually just run some fake API calls to a number of different resources here. And we're using the user's data and we are limiting it. So what are we limiting it to? We're starting it at 0 and 3. We're limiting it at 3. So first object within the array, and give us just 3 objects of some nice good old data. All right, so let's actually shrink this back down and let's figure out how to actually do that request. So what we're going to do is let's create an actual function and we'll call it getUsers. And it's so whenever you're doing an API call from a different resource, the data is not going to come in as fast as we want. So for this particular function, we want it to be an asynchronous function. And what that's going to allow for you to do is anything inside of an asynchronous function, you'll be able to go line for line and await the actual data as if it were synchronous. So, and it'll make more sense kind of when we actually finish the function here. But what we're going to do here is, so we're looking for a response. So let's say const response, and what? We're going to do a fetch. Fetch from what? We're going to fetch from the URL that we actually had, which is going to get that data. So let's copy that and let's place that right here. Okay, so that's perfect. And because that data is not going to come back, we don't know when it's going to come back, but we don't want the program, we don't want the program to miss it. So we do want the actual function to wait for it. So with asynchronous functions, we await the actual responses. So then what we can do from there is we can actually, for that response, yeah, we can work with that right there. That's perfect. But let's do const data. Okay, await. So once we get the actual response, it's not going to be the prettiest data that we have, but we can actually format that data into something that we can work with a little easier, and that's going to be formatted as JSON. Okay, so this is just for formatting. Okay. And then from there, now this is the magical piece here. So I'm still showcasing this data over here, but we don't need that anymore. What we want to do is this is going to be the actual data that we get back from this request. So what we want to do is we want to actually set that data and assign it to our users variable. And when we do that, this is a useState variable that's going to actually map over the user's data. And that's why we did the dummy data here just to kind of print out what we would see. Sometimes when you're working with people, you may not have the data that you need. So you'll end up coming up with some mock data right here. So let's do that. Let's set users, which is right here. So we're just going to update this value and let's set it to the actual data. Okay, and we can console log this data too, just so we can take a look at that. So let's console log data just to see what we're working with here. And well, actually, I don't think. Oh, well, here's the thing. We can run this, but I don't believe we're setting anything. Let's see if we can. Let's call get users and let's see what happens here. We'll just run it right here. All right, so we are getting all kinds of data here. Okay, and it's continuing as well. So let's actually exit that. And we want this to only run, we want it to actually run once. So let's clear this, which I'll just refresh it. Okay, so console log data, which is fine, get users, but we only want this to run, and we only want it to run once. So in order to do that, we need to bring in something else, which is called useEffect. So useEffect, and we'll go into more detail with useEffect in another video, but essentially what it does is it allows you to actually call something based off of dependencies, or actually just have, if you want something just to be implemented just once, we can actually utilize that. Let's see how we're going to do it. We'll place that right at the top here. So useEffect, Okay, and it looks a little nuts at first, but essentially it is just like this here. And there is an empty array, so that it will actually have this effect run only once. And let's just log something out here. Let's see if this runs. So we'll try to see if this runs when the actual component mounts. So see if this runs, and it does run. But we only, why is it running twice? All right, here's a quirky little thing. It's running twice because we are in a dev environment. If we were in a production environment, it would only run once. But where can we fix that? That is in the, is it here? Strict mode. Okay, so we don't want the actual strict mode to run. Can I just run the actual app itself? Let's see here. Yes, I can. Okay, perfect. All right, let's get rid of that and see if it runs, which it only runs once. I'll refresh it. Okay, so anything in here in this use effect block here will run only once. All right, so being with that said, we can actually add that. And actually, for this array here, we'll add dependencies in a different video, but we'll show you how that works a little bit later. But let's get rid of this. And what we can do is call that function, get users, inside our use effect. So now we're calling our function, get users, and it's inside the use effect, so it's only going to be called once. And we are then, this is the actual fetch of the URL. We're then taking that data off of the response and formatting it into a JSON format. And we're setting the user state now. We're updating that state. So where's our user state? Right here. And so this is the function that's going to update the actual users. And then from there, we can actually get rid of this, but I'll keep it here. I'll comment it out just in case you want to use that later. And oh, wait a minute, data is not found. Data. Okay. So it says the data is not defined, and that's right, because data is not defined. I just commented it out. So let's actually set our initial state as an empty array. All right, so now we're back to our initial array. We're getting the actual user data. We're logging it out. We're setting and updating the actual using the set users function. We're updating the user variable, which was initialized as an empty array, but because of the actual fetch here and getting the data and updating it, we now have this data here, which is 3 objects. And because of our child component called user, we are actually updating that. So now I know it's not the prettiest program. It's definitely not the prettiest, but we're starting to cover a lot here. So you're starting to see the powers of React. So let's actually, just take a little space out here. All right, so this is fine. We're getting, we can actually open up this data. I can actually increase this a little bit more, open up the individual data in which we have a number of different types of properties or key value pairs that we can actually utilize and map over and continue to do all types of parsing and manipulation of that particular data. But in this case, our job is just mainly to just kind of showcase these cards here. All right, the semi-ugly cards. What else can we do with this? We could, so I think what we're going to do in the in this video is just wrap it up here. I have a number of different stories that I have to actually get to with work. And again, I have those branch conflicts, a demo tomorrow, and I'm actually going to utilize the information in this video so we can actually pull in at least some, it'll still be mock data, but at least it will be coming in from an API request. But I'll touch base with my backend team to see exactly if they're all set with the data on their end, because sometimes they have other things they have to deal with as well. So that's how we do. We just kind of work together as a team. But like and subscribe. I think for the next video, we'll add filtering capabilities on the array of data that's actually being fetched. And we'll see exactly where we go from there. All right. Talk with you later. Stack out.